Was I supposed to click that? Or was that not me? I don't know. I'm going to mute myself because I'm talking to myself.
No worries. Steve, I'm going to share just a short few slides at the beginning as people are signing on. And then once we got a critical mass, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay. Some sound on.
I think we can go ahead and get ready, Steve.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the 2021 BMRC annual meeting. We have a great agenda today, and we're really excited to see such a full audience today with all that's happening in the world. It's great to come together, even virtually. We miss our in-person meetings, but it's great to see all of you virtually here today. I think, yeah, we're going to have some great conversations about a BMRC membership. We got some great new members today. We're going to, I think, kick things off with excuse me for a second, Marsha, you're starting off today, right?
Yes, I am.
Yes, I'm just making sure I got the order correct. So I'll be back with you a bit later. So we're going to start things off with Marsha Walker-McWilliams, our esteemed executive director, giving us a summary of what's been happening with the BMRC this year. A little bit later, we're going to have a panel that I'll be moderating with new representatives from our new member institutions. And we'll have a bit of a chance to dialogue with those new members and have some time for Q&A. At this time, I'll pass the mic to Marsha Walker-McWilliams to give us some updates on what's been happening with the BMRC over the last year. And again, thank you all for joining us. Marsha.
Thank you so much, Steve. We're very excited to see so many folks with us here today. If it is your first time at a BMRC meeting, welcome, and we hope you enjoy it and that you come back and tell others about us. If you are very familiar with us, we are really happy to see you again. And I echo Steve in hoping that we will be able to get together in person when it's safe to do so sometime soon, because I definitely miss human interaction and seeing everyone. So I'm going to take some time to give the annual report for the BMRC. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things. Live caption has been turned on so that if you do need the captions, you can utilize that. There is also a way where you can remove the captions if you don't need them. There should be a CC button near the bottom of your screen. You can also select near the top right, there are some icons where you can select to have a speaker view, and you can also elect to use a gallery view as well. If you have any questions or technical issues, please feel free to put those in Q&A or the chat if it's enabled, and we will try to accommodate those as soon as possible. I'm going to begin by, again, just giving the annual report. And we will go ahead and get started with that. All right. So thank you again for joining us for the 2021 annual meeting of the Black Metropolis Research Consortium. Just a bit about us. The BMRC, again, is a consortium of Chicago-based institutions, including libraries, universities, museums, and other archival institutions, with collections that document African-American and African diaspora culture, history, and politics. It is our mission to connect all who seek to document, share, understand, and preserve Black collections. And it is our vision to be essential to promoting discovery, preservation, and use of Black historical collections. I wanted to take a minute and also focus on our values. In 2018, when the BMRC Board of Directors underwent our latest strategic planning process, they determined some key core values of the BMRC, and I thought it would be apt to really just sort of take a moment to reflect on these. These values represent the ways in which the BMRC seeks to operate in relationship with other institutions, with communities across Chicago, and the ways in which we engage Black history and Black historical collections. So our values include trust across communities, honest and transparent communication, commitment to being knowledgeable and responsible custodians, respect for those who develop collections, including community members, member institutions, ancestors, and Chicagoans, commitment to member archives, continuing to reflect the broad, complex, intersectional experience of the Black metropolis, advocacy for equitable collaboration while acknowledging Chicago's divided history, increased diversity of caretakers of our collections. Care for community archives is vital to documenting the Black experience, and equity and resource access and assistance across varied institution types. And we do, in fact, have a variety of member institutions in the BMRC. Here's a list of our institutions over the past year, our members from 2020 to 2021. You'll see the green stars indicate the new members who have joined us. So we welcome Cook County Historic Archives and Records Office, North Park University, and Northern Illinois University. Representatives from these institutions will be joining Steve later in some presentations and a moderated discussion, along with Oak Park Public Library, which joined the BMRC in 2019. You'll also see that the University of Chicago is our host institution. You'll see a list of our board of directors here as well from 2020 to 2021. You just heard from Stephen Adams, who is our chairperson. And we have as well our executive leaders on the board and our members of the board. Welcome to all of our board members who are in attendance. We have a marathon board meeting after this. So if you are here, that is wonderful. And we are so happy you're giving up half of your day to the BMRC. We'd also like to take a moment just to say thank you to two departing board members, Esteban Montano, formerly of Roosevelt University and now at Dominican University, and Beth Glock, who's an archivist at the Chicago Public Library. We thank you for your service on the BMRC board and hope that you will still continue to be involved with us, and we wish you all the best. The staff are also listed here, including myself, Allison Sutton, our program manager / archivist, Lori Lee Moses, portal archivist, Tanya Calvin, community engagement archivist. And I also wanted to acknowledge a wonderful student intern that we had from UIC this past year, Viviana Jimenez. We would not be able to do the work that we do without important funders and supporters. The University of Chicago has been our host institution since the BMRC was founded in 2006. And the University of Chicago Library is where the BMRC offices have been since 2018. We're really grateful to have the support of our host institution. Their support certainly has enabled us to do wonderful things like have a new website and have technical support. They provide generous operations funding for the BMRC and also support some of our staff positions as well. We have also have support from foundations, including the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, who since the BMRC's founding has awarded several important grants, one of which we are currently underway with, and I'll talk a little bit more about later. We have also had wonderful funding from the Gaylord and Dorothy Donnelly Foundation since 2016, providing general operating support for our activities. And we've had support this past year from the Terra Foundation, which I'll talk more about as well. In addition, because the BMRC is a member organization, we collect dues from our member institutions, and those certainly help in terms of us being able to carry out the work that we do. And we also, from time to time, have individual private donations that help us as well. I will talk a little bit more about some exciting news that we have regarding the funding support that we've had and some of the things that it's going to enable us to do over this next year. Our strategic plan has really guided the work of the BMRC over the past 3 years. The priorities and tenets of this plan include education, so illuminating Black history and culture by supporting the diversification of the archival profession and the creation and dissemination of research and scholarship. And you'll hear more about that when Allison Sutton discusses updates on our Archie Motley Archival Internship Program and the Summer Short-Term Fellowship. Collections is another priority area of the strategic plan, so enhancing the preservation, discoverability, and visibility of member institutions' collections and legacies. Collecting advisement, develop archives and educational resources and programming to provide community members and prospective donors with impartial legacy management advisement. And you'll hear more about our efforts this past year to really do more work with collections and collecting advising through some of our grant-funded staff. Membership, creating an exemplary experience for all members and prospective members, as well as sustainability, building the resources and reputation to accomplish the BMRC's goals. I'm going to turn it over now to Allison Sutton. Allison Sutton joined the BMRC just over a year ago as our program manager and archivist, and she has done wonderful work taking over leadership of our Summer Short-Term Fellows Program, as well as the Archie Motley Archival Internship. Allison? Let's see. I hope Allison isn't muted. So Allison, we'll take just a second to make sure that we can get Allison in. But we had definitely, due to the pandemic, we were not able to have fellows conduct research last summer in 2020. So we put a pause.
Here.
Oh, great. Allison here.
I am so sorry. Thank you, Martha.
No worries, Allison.
BMRC programs are indeed in full swing. And as Marcia was saying, our 2020 BMRC fellows were unable to travel to Chicago last summer due to the pandemic, but they are conducting their research during the current summer. And the BMRC fellows are, and their project titles are as follows: Lanai Adolphison with Northern Illinois University, Healthcare in the Black Metropolis, A History of Providence Hospital. Theodore Foster, University of Louisiana Lafayette, Projecting Archives, the Politics of Black Chicago History, Memory, and Civil Rights. Grace Gibson, Virginia Commonwealth University, Telling Her Story, and Continuing a Legacy of Chicago's Black Girl Magic in Comics. Toussaint Lossier, University of Massachusetts Amherst, United in Peace, the History, Memory, and Politics of Street Gang Truces. Vanessa Stokes, artist and entrepreneur, creating transformation on Chicago's West Side by using photography and creative placemaking. David Stovall, University of Illinois at Chicago, engineered conflicts, school closings, public housing, law enforcement, and the future of Black life. And Jacoby Williams, Indiana University, Bloomington, Neighborhoods First, the Black Panther Party's impact on grassroots community organizations. We also have 4 Archie Motley archival interns for the summer of 2021, and they are Callie Smith, a rising sophomore, University of Chicago, and Malik Pitchford, rising senior, DePaul University. Callie and Malik are both working on the oral history portion of the Black Alumni Project with the team of archivists at the Library of African Studies at Northwestern University. Jordan Wright is a 2021 graduate of DePaul University, and Jordan is working on a metadata enhancement project for the Rayborn Flerlich Photograph Collection at Chicago History Museum. Rebecca Otto, a graduate student at DePaul University, is also working on an oral history project, but for the African American Police League collection at Chicago History Museum. In addition to the Archie Motley interns this year, for the very first time, the BMRC is also supporting an additional student intern, Hope Houston, a rising junior at the University of Chicago. on an archiving initiative with the Chicago Black Dance Legacy Project. HOPE is conducting primary research on dance collections at the BMRC member institutions. Some of you may have seen her, to acquire new materials for the online archive, and will also be conducting oral history interviews with individuals important to the history of Black dance in the city. We're very excited about this new partnership. For more information about our interns, fellows, and their work, please see our website, and also do stay tuned to our monthly e-newsletters and social media for announcements about late summer and fall presentations.
Thank you so much, Allison. Thank you. Yes, we're very excited to be able to resume some of our programs, which again, we had to halt due to the pandemic. We also had a number of public programs this past year. I'm unfortunately not able to go through all of them, but we are going to highlight a couple. 2021 marks the 15th anniversary of the Black Metropolis Research Consortium. Yes, it's our birthday. We were able to celebrate this occasion with an exhibit in partnership with the University of Chicago Hannah Holborn Gray Special Collections Research Center. I had wonderful support from Chelsea Kaufman, who's the exhibition designer and the leadership of the Special Collections Research Center in developing this exhibit. We were originally hoping that we would be able to allow folks into the physical exhibition. If you are able to view the screen, you'll see an image of me from YouTube actually in the exhibition gallery. But due to COVID-19, we were not able to allow folks to visit the exhibit, but we were able to develop a companion digital exhibition. Since the exhibit launched, especially the digital exhibit, we have had over 2,000 unique views and visits to the exhibit. So we're really excited about this. And you can get to it through our website, as well as through the Special Collections Research Center website through the University of Chicago Library. And we're hoping to actually relaunch the physical exhibit sometime in 2022 so that we can welcome you all to see it live. This year as well, we were able to hold a pretty unique program series called the Visual Arts Series. We were awarded an emergency relief grant from the Terra Foundation for American Art. And our board, our staff came together and decided that one of the ways in which we really wanted to sort of utilize this funding was to have conversations with artists, arts organizations, and artist collectives that really amplify Black art and Black artists. This was one way we could kind of open up a conversation between the BMRC and these organizations, as well as to support those organizations given the difficulties arts organizations faced during the pandemic. So throughout the month of April, we were able to hold weekly sessions, discussions, artist talks with key folks who are listed over on the right. So some of our partners in this were the African American Arts Alliance, Diasporal Rhythms, Intuit, the Center for Intuitive and Outsider Art, Inglewood Art Collective, Chicago Sounding Boards, Alt Space, Ben Blount, Tempest Hazel, and David Johnson. We're very grateful to have had some wonderful conversations with them that have really sparked a lot of ideas about how we can engage artists and arts organizations, especially around sort of archives and legacy management. Again, we're very thankful for the Terra Foundation for their support. And we also had the support of a wonderful student intern, Viviana Jimenez, who she and I worked side by side during this process to pull the art series together. We also engaged as a staff in a number of presentations about the BMRC throughout Chicagoland. And some of those organizations who we have engaged with and provided presentations on the BMRC, or presentations where we have areas of expertise, are listed there. So Rogers Park Westridge Historical Society, University of Notre Dame, the Union League Club of Chicago, and the Caxton Club. The image on the screen is a screenshot of the Women's Absence from Chicago's Monumental Landscape conversation that happened just over a week ago. We've also given some presentations to the American Library Association and the North Lawndale Historical and Cultural Society. In addition to presentations, we also make an effort to interact with conferences and important meetings across the country. So we participated in different archives, different histories, a conference that was held at UIC by the Institute for Humanities and the UIC Library. We participated in meetings with the Digital Public Library of America, their community and open board meetings. For the Organization of American Historians, we curated a panel, which was a conversation between archivists and historians on archives of Black Chicago. And that conversation was actually recorded and is available on our YouTube channel. And we also planned a panel for the Labor and Working Class History Association. In addition to presentations and conferences, we also engage in advisory work. So that could be formally through sitting on boards of organizations such as the Dominican University School of Information Studies Advisory Board, also serving as readers for national fellowship and grant competitions with the Rare Book Schools and the National Endowment for the Humanities. Allison spoke about the Chicago Black Dance Legacy Project and the work that we are doing with them, specifically around their archival capacity. And myself and Tanya Calvin, community engagement archivist for the BMRC, were members of the advisory board for the Tribe Guide 2021 Heritage Edition, which the image on the right captures. The Tribe is a really innovative digital media and journalism platform that seeks to change the narrative of Black Chicago. And their Heritage Edition focused on the history of African Americans and Indigenous folks in Chicago from the very beginning to the present. And you can visit their website for locations where you can pick up a Tribe Guide, and they will also be expanding their reach as well. Just briefly want to mention some ways that you can continue to connect with us through BMRC resources. As Allison mentioned, we have a monthly e-newsletter, which you can sign up for through our site. We also have a biannual newsletter called the BMRC News, which is published every January and July, that covers more stories about the work that we're doing, some of our partnerships, and other key information. Thanks to Allison and Tanya, our social media and following has increased very much over the past year. We are also continuing to update content for our YouTube channel. In fact, a recording of this annual meeting will be available on the YouTube channel in about a week or so. And then also through our website, where you can get access to key resources such as the Legacy Management Resource Portal, information about our member institutions, collections, and much more. So turning ahead to 2021 and 2022 initiatives, we're continuing work on a 3-year grant from the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation called Documenting Black Chicago Through Technology, Sustainability, and Outreach. This grant provides funding to update the BMRC's portal, its searchable database of collections, to begin featuring digital exhibits and also other discovery features that will help enhance access to Black historical collections. It also includes funding for collection diversification and community engagement workshops for our member institutions, as well as legacy management resources and archiving workshops for community members with a focus on Black Chicagoans. Going to open it up for some initiatives. And I'm going to ensure that both Lori and Tanya will be able to speak. Lori Lee Moses and Tanya Calvin joined the BMRC about a year ago as well. You might recall at the last annual meeting, I introduced their faces, and you will actually be able to hear from them today, give some updates on key initiatives relative to the grant. So, Lori, we're going to go ahead and have you start first, and I am going to make sure.
Sounds good.
Great.
Hello, everyone. As you may know, I've been working closely with a small University of Chicago team for several months, and development of the new portal is right on schedule. A soft launch is slated for the end of July. We'll spend the next couple of months or so squashing bugs, correcting errors, and refining the site's functions and design, with a full unveiling planned for the fall. Before the full launch, we'll work to make sure the collection's information for all of your relevant holdings are up to date and complete. And then, now through July 30th, the 5-Minute Topics Challenge is underway. We're calling on all Black Studies scholars, librarians, and archivists to share the topics that are most important in their work, be it for research or reference. We will use entries from the challenge and terms gathered from other sources to create the BMRC curated topics list, which is a controlled vocabulary that will help increase specificity in collections description for better discovery of Black Studies materials across institutions. You are invited to share your knowledge of Black Studies and enter the challenge. The challenge flyer created by Tanya is on the slide, and I believe it's in the chat now too. It's also in the newsletter. So you can find the information to enter, and a random entry will win a $50 gift card to the Semicolon bookstore. As always, you are welcome to contact me at any time with questions or ideas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori. Tanya?
Hi, everyone. As Marcia said, my name is Tanya Coffin. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the Community Engagement Archivist for the BMRC. And I'm just here today to talk about some of the work that I've been doing. Marcia mentioned the workshops that are being funded by the Mellon Foundation. We started a member series back in November of last year, where we hosted a collection diversification and community engagement panel on Zoom, featuring some of our members, including Dina Robinson from Shorefront Legacy Center, Raquel Flores Clemens from Chicago State, Lisa Olson and Allison Hinderleiter from Newberry Library, and Pam Harkbart-Dean from UIC. We followed up that panel in January of this year with a cultural diversity competency webinar facilitated by Helen Wong-Smith from University of Hawaii at Manoa, and then a 2-day collection diversification workshop in March of this year, facilitated by Rebecca Hankins from Texas A&M University. To wrap up the series, I hosted a discussion in April. And throughout the whole series, these 4 events, we talked about how to respectfully and meaningfully work with communities to build long-term relationships, and also how to build our own consortial capacity to make room for community engagement in our own archival work. In addition to this member series, I also have been working on community-oriented workshops. To help make decisions on what topics to cover, I ran a community needs and assets assessment in February and March. Viviana, who was our student intern, who Marcia has mentioned, helped with the social media campaign to promote the survey, and we featured member collections like the Anthony Racine collection and the Thing magazine collection. I analyzed responses from Black Chicagoland community members around the city to find out what they know about archiving, what questions they have about legacy management, and like I said, what topics they wanted to see covered in archival workshops. In April of this year, I hosted 2 discussions where we talked with community members about their archival needs and ideas for how the BMRC can promote legacy management in Black Chicagoland communities. As a result of these 2 discussions and the survey that we ran, I'm hosting 5 community workshops. The first will be on July 29th. You see the flyer for it on this slide here. Allison also put the workshops page in the chat where you can find more information about how to register. This Intro to Archiving workshop will cover appraisals, processing and describing, preservation, and providing access. Another Intro to Archiving workshop, part 2 of this one, will happen sometime at the end of August or early September, and that'll cover digitization and basic digital archiving principles. And then hopefully following up these 2 events, I would like to host some events that cover topics like African-American genealogy, donating archival materials to repositories, and also funding archival projects for small organizations. So you can look out on our social media as well as on our website and our newsletters for more information on those workshops. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. So as you can see, there's lots to be happening in 2021 and 2022, both continuing into the final year of our Documenting Black Chicago grant. And we also have some exciting new opportunities coming up for BMRC member institutions. We were awarded last month a grant from Northwestern University's Racial Equity and Community Partnership Grant, a partnership between the Northwestern Center for Civic Engagement and the BMRC. And the goal of this project is to support Chicago's Black archives through 9 to 12-month fellows who will be working in BMRC member institutions. This year, we are piloting and working on some of the infrastructure for this program. We're looking forward to unveiling more information to our member institutions in September with a December sort of call for applications. What this opportunity will do is essentially establish a cohort of 5 graduate students from Northwestern University who will engage in some basic training to get into the archives, and then they will work at 5 BMRC member institutions on up to year-long projects that help increase capacity and support projects that preserve and amplify Black histories and legacies. We're really excited about this partnership and looking forward to ways that we can both enhance the capacity of our member institutions and also support increased knowledge and awareness of archives. This concludes the annual report section of the annual meeting. Now we're going to turn to a discussion and presentations by some of our new members. As Steve mentioned, we'd like to welcome our new members to the BMRC Consortium. And we're going to have some brief presentations by 4 representatives from our newest member institutions, including Lee Tarullo, who is Director of Collections at Oak Park Public Library, Skyla Hearn, Manager of Archives for Cook County Historic Archives and Records Office, Andrew Meyer, Director of Archives for North Park University, Gwen Gregory, Associate Dean for Collections Management at Northern Illinois University Libraries. And following their presentations, our BMRC Board Chair, Stephen Adams, will engage them in a discussion. And Stephen is the librarian for graduate and postdoctoral initiatives at Northwestern University. My apologies for the oversight in leaving that out. So first up, we will have Lee. And I'm going to pull up your presentation, Lee.
Thank you, Marcia. Hello, everyone. It's so good to see everyone and to be here and be able to talk a little bit about our institution and collections. So I will let Marcia pull that up. I'm Lee Tarullo, newly Director of Collections at the Oak Park Public Library. And part of my job over the last couple of years is to kind of oversee special collections in the Hemingway Archive. We are a new department within the library. So we've had a lot of interesting things to do with collections, digital collections, partnerships, collaborations. So I'll just tell you quickly about our collections. And then we can kind of talk about our aspirations and future projects. So special collections here at the Oak Park Public Library is actually quite old. The library began collecting materials from local authors and creators back in the late 1800s. So out of that collection has come, collections, artifacts, ephemera, based on the history of Oak Park, including our Oak Parkers, Frank Lloyd Wright, Ernest Hemingway, and Edgar Rice Burroughs, and Dr. Percy Julian, which I will get into a little bit later in this presentation. So in this space, along with special collections, we have the Hemingway Archive. The Hemingway Archive belongs to the Ernest Hemingway Foundation of Oak Park. It is a partner institution. We provide collections care, oversight, access to the public, but the collection is not actually our own. Oh, Marcia, could you go over to the Hemingway Archive? And so when we built this building, we knew we wanted a partnership with a local organization to house collections. And the library has a long relationship with the Hemingway Foundation of Oak Park. So starting with a grant, it was called the Hacking Hemingway grant about 6 years ago. We started, providing collections care, digitizing, working very closely with researchers and partners. The majority of that collection was donated by Hemingway family members, a couple of other large donors. And so basically we've worked the last couple of years providing access to these collections. We feel we've done that. The collection is in great shape. We've met great people. We've been able to collaborate with a lot of different institutions. But now we're kind of looking forward. We're looking forward to, that post-pandemic world where we can become in person again and really start focusing on areas in the collection that we don't own. Oak Park is a very diverse community, but our collections are not diverse. So that first and foremost, as we go forward, is going to be kind of our plan for the next several years. We want to hear from community members. We're not just Oak Park, we're also on the west side of Chicago. There's a lot of overlap between Oak Park and Austin. So we really want to open up those collections and make sure that we're serving all parts of the community. Marcia, you can go to the next slide. So if you come to the Oak Park Public Library and you walk on the front door, one of the first things you see is a bust of Dr. Percy Julian, who was an Oak Parker, very important scientist. His daughter still lives in the Julian House here in Oak Park. When we talk about the big three in Oak Park, he's not mentioned, and he needs to be. It's as a special collections in a public library, we have not acquired collections. Collections have been donated to us, but we don't have anything from Percy Julian. We don't have a lot of materials that focus on African Americans or Latino and Hispanic Americans. So, we really need to work on that. And that was what was exciting about being a partner in the BMRC, was to be able to work with member institutions on collaborations, on exhibits, on programming, but also some direction on how we can diversify those collections. So during the pandemic, one thing that we became aware of was history was happening now. And how do you collect that type of material? When everyone was working remotely and we weren't in the physical building, how could we actually do that? So going forward, that's what we're going to be working on. Like I said, diversification of the collections. We need to reflect our community, and that is key first and foremost. I have accepted a new position. I was manager of special collections in the Hemingway Archive. Now I'm director of collections for the entire library. So I've been very fortunate to have some new staff members. Kathleen Spale, who's the new manager of special collections. Linda Montalbano, who is our metadata person. They're brand new to the institution. They have a lot of great ideas. I want to kind of like let them go and kind of decide where this department goes. I will mention that we have an open archivist position, which I will be posting in the next couple of months. Our former archivist is now director of the Women's Archive at Loyola. Hello, Emily. And so we're going to be posting that, and with a brand new staff, a brand new team, I'm just really excited going forward to see what we can do. Special collections, this department was founded on the idea of collaboration and partnerships. We have never wanted to be a standalone institution. So we are ready, we're able, we're excited to work with community members, other institutions, and to really be a part of the BMRC. Their values are our values, and we're very excited about that. So here's our contact information. Always available to talk, to brainstorm, to have new ideas. So please, if you have any questions or anything like that, please contact us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lee. And Lee will be back joining Stephen and the other panelists in conversation. Next up, we'll have Skyla Hearn from Cook County Historic Archives and Records Office. And Skyla, I'm going to be queuing up your presentation.
Thank you, Marcia. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me as a part of the conversation today. As we get into the presentation, I just want to start actually, well, before we get into the presentation, rather, I'd like to start with a background. Oh, Marcia, I'm sorry, everybody. It isn't this presentation, it's the other one.
Got it.
I sent you one this morning. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and get that.
All right, thank you. Okay, so everyone, before we, get to that presentation, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background, which I don't think that I included in the presentation, which is that CARO, or Cook County Historic Archives and Records Office, began as an initiative around 2018, which was introduced or presented by President Preckwinkle to the Board of Commissioners. And from that point, CARO was then passed by the Board of Commissioners, whereby they were then able to bring in a manager of archives in 2020, which is, of course, myself. So again, this is an inaugural unit within Cook County government, and this is, an inaugural position. And the unit is housed under the Secretary to the Board of Commissioners. So as I mentioned, I began this position in 2020, June of 2020, and the unit inherited me. I run the department with 4 staff members, plus we have a Cook County historian. And as of December 2020, our ordinance was passed, which then supports our department. Okay, so now I'd like to get into the presentation.
All right. Skyla, I'm afraid I just have the one.
Okay.
So apologies for that.
Okay, can you see my screen, this presentation here?
Yes, would you like to share it yourself?
Sure.
Okay.
I will go ahead and do that. Okay, so as I mentioned, so everyone can see that you can see the screen now, the archiving Cook County
Yes.
background. Okay, thank you. And there's a particular reason that I decided to use this presentation over the one that I initially shared with you, Marcia, which I'll get into sharing with everyone. So again, thank you for having me. And I'm excited to talk to you about CARO, or Cook County Historic Archives and Records Office. So because this is an inaugural position and an inaugural unit within Cook County government, and in some cases, the whole idea of archives is also very new to folks. I have been engaged with the offices under the president by introducing them to the department as well as to archives. And so I decided to use this presentation in particular because this is the presentation that I use here at work to explain to everyone about what this office is and our goals, our mission, and what it is that I would like to accomplish. And I've been able to do this through conversations that we have internally called Lunch and Learn, in addition to being invited to various departments meetings where I'm then able to share this information with them. So I just kind of wanted to pull you all in to what these experiences are often like. So let's go ahead and keep going with this. So the archive in Cook County. So Carol is responsible for compiling local governmental records, past and present, in Cook County, as well as preserving the history of our region and explaining the role the county played in the growth and development of the region, state, and nation. The archives has a dual central focus here, which is, of course, to collect materials related to Cook County government with the focus of the offices under the president. And I've expanded this mission or goal to include collecting materials from Cook County community as well. So our mission is to provide greater knowledge and understanding for Cook County residents and employees of the importance of Cook County's role in the growth and development of the region, state, and nation through the documentation and preservation of county documents and artifacts held by county agencies and offices. And so I want to take just a quick moment here to talk to you about this particular image, which of course was, one of the highlights since I've been here at Cook County. And, as I mentioned, the archives unit is a very new unit. We, of course, have had a very strong records management department. And so the idea to preserve records is something that, I am currently working with the offices under the president to strengthen the knowledge base for the importance of the preservation of the materials. And to also, explain and, in conversation with the various departments about what those materials are, and to, of course, help them to transfer the materials within CARO. And so, President Preckwinkle reached out to our department to donate some materials from her office. And so this image here is reflective of that transfer of records into our department. And so, just thinking in terms of where we plan to go, what it is, that I am intending to do here and what we are in the process of developing. Of course, we know that, archives are, what archives are comprised of as archivists and the archives adjacent community. But, again, providing contextual evidence and imagery related to the work that we do. These were some photographs that, I've shared and continue to share so that, folks can have a better understanding of what happens once these materials are then ingested or accepted into the archive center here at Cook County government, but, of course, related to other repositories as well. And so, the plan, of course, is to create a physical archives center here. And I'm in the process of, working through the development of, working through the development of intellectual and, physical infrastructure with developing the archive center, which of course includes, processing. So archiving, arranging and describing the collections, centralizing the materials into our stacks and creating a digitization center, as well as, creating a reading room where we will be able to, of course, encourage and support knowledge development. And so, these are questions that, most of us here within this space are able to answer. But, the thing of, and not to say that, folks here weren't able to necessarily answer these questions either, but, just thinking about like drawing in more context and understanding about like our relationships with archival materials. And also, as, information professionals, as researchers, drawing in the importance of, again, our own connections with materials, and then highlighting what those connections are through like our knowledge development, through publications and things of that nature. So like these examples here, I intentionally pulled because, by one way or the other in my own personal research and, professional development, I have a particular connection to some of these materials that you see here. Others are reflective of examples of things that we have received or had access to here at Cook County government, which is in the process of becoming our archival collections. And so again, thinking about ways in which we're able to provide availability and access to archival collections, drawing on some of my past experiences, working with different groups, institutional groups, community groups, as a partner and collaborator throughout, Cook County, and also various types of repositories. Just again, drawing in these experiences and providing the understanding that, archives are to be activated, right? And what you see here is an example of one of the largest to date, public programs that the Carroll office was able to implement and participate in, where we were able to bring in Judas and the Black Messiah. And we had a panel discussion with President Preckwinkle, myself, and some other really thoughtful and knowledgeable people to discuss the film, the importance of historical context, and so forth. And so I'll leave you with sharing some of the accomplishments over the last year, with the reminder that, we are, again, a brand new department. And, I feel like, the sky is the limit, if there is such a thing as a limit. There's so much happening here. And so, again, we've been able to establish governance, with the passing of the Cook County Records Compliance and Archives Ordinance, developing community and institutional partnerships, establishing local and national institutional consortium memberships, beginning with the BMRC. And so forth. These are just a few that are listed here. I have been able to secure professional services. We're working with a local conservator, Leslie Guy, digitization services, content management systems. And I am in the process of transferring records from multiple departments here under the Office of the President, as well as acquiring community or Cook County community collections. There are ongoing outreach, public programs, and engagement that is happening. Carroll programs and projects. One in particular is our 2021 flag contest, which engages high school students to help to reimagine and rethink the Cook County flag. And of course, we actively engage in presentations. Since I've been with the county, I've participated as a keynote speaker for different associations, participated in, panel conversations at conferences and so forth. Our staff of 4, as I mentioned before, has participated and continues to participate in ongoing professional development and training. I would like to or develop different mentorship opportunities, as well as volunteer educational higher learning opportunities, including practicum. Eventually, I would like to get to the status of being able to offer fellowships. And we do also have a few publications in progress. And the last that I'll leave you with is connected to my work here, as well as, being an adjunct assistant professor at UIC. I'm able to offer archives and collections instruction. And with that work, being able to also bring in the graduate students into understanding the development of infrastructure for a government archive. And so I'll leave you. Oh, I also wanted to share here these images. Cook County, Essential to You, Equity for All. This is what we developed as a statement out of our office to celebrate and highlight the 190th anniversary of Cook County earlier this year. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, this is my email address, and I will be happy to talk with you further about the development of the Cairo office. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Skyla. That was wonderful to learn more about Cairo. Next up, we're going to have Andrew Meyer. I hope it's okay. I'm used to calling you Andy.
Either's fine with me.
From North Park. And Andy, I'll go ahead and queue up your presentation.
Great, and I'll pull up my notes too. Yeah, thanks so much for having me, and it's great to be a member here. I'm Andy Meyer. I'm the Director of Archives and Special Collections at North Park University, and I've been in this role for just over 4 years now, which doesn't seem that long. And you can go to the next slide too. In this role, I work with 3 major repositories. So the North Park University Archives, the Archives and Historical Library for the Evangelical Covenant Church, and the Swedish American Archives of Greater Chicago. And these collections, I think, are relatively typical. It's books and paper, along with some photographs and audiovisual material and digital material as well. They all are kind of born out of Swedish immigration. All the 2 institutions, North Park and the Covenant Church, are kind of both related to each other and born out of Swedish American immigration. And then the Swedish American Archives for Greater Chicago is really specifically focused on preserving and sharing stories about Swedish records related to Swedish immigration to Chicago. And in this role, I work with a wide range of communities. So from high school students to international researchers who are kind of interested in these 3 main collections we have. One of the prompts was talking about aspirations or initiatives relevant to the BMRC. And I kind of thought of 3 things that I would share with you all to tell you what we're working on, and it's kind of as a matter of introduction. So our collecting scope is, especially relative to other institutions, is pretty limited. So we're really focused on North Park, the Covenant Church, and Swedish immigration. But for both the North Park and the Covenant Church collections, there are ample opportunities to engage with historically excluded groups and building partnerships that are successful and equitable and good are a top priority for me right now. Like other institutions, I'm sure we're looking closely at some of the language we use in archival description, with a focus on how women are described and dealing with the legacies of some of the Covenant Church's missionary work around the world. So we're kind of currently auditing our archival description, particularly for our photos and manuscript collections, coming up with proposed changes, and then working with internal groups to discuss and refine those things. And lastly, we one of the main institutions I serve is North Park University. We're thinking about partnering with the Office of Diversity to create small exhibits that would connect North Park history to the various ethnic student associations on campus. The opportunities and benefits seem clear, but also to me, some of the challenges and ways to kind of mess that up seem equally clear. So I'm proceeding with caution and humility there, and these are some of the main reasons I sought to join the BMRC, to learn from you all, to be in consortial relationship, and to learn. Actually, related to that, I was also told to give some images from our collections. So if you want to go to the next slide, I can tell a little story about this image. So this is an image that has been in our collection for 50 years now. 50 years, almost exactly, 1971. And it gets used frequently in promotional materials and things like that. But when I started as archivist, none of the people pictured here were identified. And I think that is obviously problematic, and kind of the question is what to do about this. So I'm very happy to kind of report out a positive story, but again, one that leads back to the BMRC. So working with the Office of Diversity and current students, we created an exhibit on marking 50 years for the Black Student Association at North Park. That event was very successful and kind of organically led to a discussion with an alumni from that era, from graduating 1972. And then through kind of a long-term partnership with him, I was able to, we talked, we emailed, and at some point I said, we have this photo and, I'd really love to be able to properly identify the people in it. And he was able to do it almost immediately through his own experience, through networking, through his friends from that era. So now I'm very proud to report that this photo is identified, and we're kind of better able to care for this record and the people portrayed in it. If you want to go to the last slide, though, this is an example of another image where we have no descriptive information. It's a woman who worked at North Park in the data processing lab, presumably in the 1970s or so. At least that's what our records say. But this is another kind of typical problem that I've inherited and that I'm kind of seeking to address. So I'm really excited to be part of this group, to learn from you all, and to be a part of this. So that's what I have to share right now as a matter of introduction. I've neglected to put my email address on the slides, but I'll put it in the chat now.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much. And again, Lee, Skyla, Andy, and Gwen, who's up next, they're going to be in a conversation moderated by BMRC Board Chair Stephen Adams, immediately following Gwen's presentation. And Gwen, I'm going to go ahead and get your presentation queued up.
Great, thank you. I'll just adjust my camera a little. There we go. Well, hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm Gwen Gregory, the Associate Dean for Collections Management here at the Northern Illinois University Libraries. I've been here less than a year, so I'm still learning about our collections and our campus in general. We are very excited to be a member of the BMRC now and to learn more about the group and its members and everyone's work. Next slide. Just to tell you a little more about NIU, we have about 17,000 students now, and close to 20% of our students are African American. Our library has about 2.4 million volumes. Our rare books and special collections has about 85,000 volumes. And our Regional History Center has over 362 different collections, which are basically from the northernmost 18 counties in Illinois, excluding Cook County, but we do have materials from DuPage and Kane counties, kind of in the Chicago metro area. We also have the university archives that cover the 125-year history of NIU. And of course, since we're a member of iShare, our circulating collections are available to other iShare members through that system. Next slide, please. We obviously have a lot of collections and a lot of things, so I was focusing a little bit on collections that might be of interest to other BMRC members. We do have the papers of the Chicago writer Willard Motley, which I was checking on those today. They include a lot of things like diaries, photos, and clippings, both that are about him or that he collected about other things. We have a pretty large science fiction collection, including the papers from some of the Worldcon science fiction collections and papers from a number of science fiction authors, including Nishi Shah and Nadia Korafor. We also have a lot of African-American related university archives, both student groups and our Center for Black Studies, which has been very active on campus for a number of years. And we have a large collection of dime novels, which are a rich source of popular culture study for about the period 1860 to 1930. Many of these have been digitized and can be used on our Nickels and Dimes website. Next slide, please. So I also included a few images that I found. Here is a picture of some of the Willard Motley papers. You can see these are some of his diaries, and I'm not quite sure he was using that map to mark some things on it, all kinds of interesting notes about what he was up to at different points in his life. Next slide, please. Here are a couple of covers from some of our dime novels. You can see that one of them, the first one, the Black Spy, this is a dime novel that features the adventures of Cuff Tompkins and Long Ike on the upper Missouri, maybe more of a Western frontier theme. And the second one, Three Jolly Pards, is by Philip S. Warren, who was the only known African-American dime novelist. Next slide, please. So we have several projects that probably are of interest to BMRC members. First of all, we have our Digital Power Grant Program, which emphasizes digital preservation for African-American collections, as well as those from other marginalized groups. And that website, you can see more about it. We've just applied for a new NEH grant to continue this program. What it focuses on is providing professional development for librarians and archivists from smaller institutions to learn about curating and preserving digital collections. And if we get this grant, we will be offering the training at 3 locations, which I believe are in Chicago area, in Arizona, and in Oklahoma. We're also currently doing a project where we're collecting NIU and DeKalb area African-American oral histories. And we are currently expecting a donation of African-American memorabilia, which we are planning to make available for teaching and learning on campus. Next slide, please. One thing that we're really interested in collaborating on is digitization projects. We certainly have a history of digitization projects like our Nickels and Dimes project, and we're also the home of the Southeast Asia Digital Library, which is even a international project. And we've done quite a number of them in the past, things like Illinois during the Gilded Age and Mark Twain's Mississippi. And I'd be happy if anyone is interested in talking about how we could collaborate on digitization to have someone email me. I'd also like to let everyone know that we also have a position open right now for head of special collections and archives. And I would love to talk to anyone about that if you'd like more information, or if you would like to apply, just check on the NIU website. And thank you for having us here today. And I look forward to learning more. I've already learned a lot about all the other organizations and what everyone is doing. And I hope that we will be able to get a lot out of this. I was really excited to hear that one of the BMRC fellows was from NIU, and I'm looking forward to talking to her more about what she's been up to. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Gwen. Now we're going to have Stephen Adams moderate a discussion with our panelists.
Thank you so much, Marsha. And thanks, panelists, for sharing so much about your individual institutions and your interests. One of the things we want to do in the BMRC is help institutions get to know each other better. I think, especially as board chair and, Marsha as executive director and the BMRC staff, we get to know the institutions well, and we want to do a better job of nurturing and facilitating collaborations. So I'm really glad for this opportunity to get to know each of you better as new members, and we'll have to have some other initiatives to help you get to know all of the members that are already here. And as one who's been involved with the BMRC for quite a while, I can say, I'm still learning about what's going on at each individual institution. There's a lot of good work going on related to African-American culture and history. Some of you in your presentations addressed this question, but addressed the questions I'm going to ask. But if you have more to share, or if you didn't address the question in your presentation, feel free to answer. We'll just make this a bit free form. So our first question is, what drew you to become a member of the BMRC? And we can go in sort of in any order. Just turn your mic on.
Sure, I can share a little more. This is Andy Meyer from North Park again. Yeah, so I guess in thinking about why we joined, the two reasons come to top of my mind. One is for the kind of the networking opportunity it provides me, and it's me and one part-time staff member here. So to kind of think about, and when thinking about how to do this collection diversification work, to think about how to work with the diverse communities we're related to, it seemed like this would be a great resource, and it really has. Some of the trainings you all offered or webinars earlier this year were really wonderful. And then the other major reason is just, I don't do much of it, but we do archival instruction with undergraduates. And this is a resource we can share with them. I mean, we're kind of a hub for Swedish American research, but most students are not interested in that. It's nice to have connections to other, specifically other Chicago area groups and organizations to say, oh, you're interested in this, here's a resource you could go to and get started. So those are kind of the two main reasons why North Park joined.
Thank you, Andrew.
Before special collections here at Oak Park became a department, I personally had been following the BMRC and the work that was being done, and was really excited about it. And when Marcia approached us about membership, we really jumped at the chance. I think what's remarkable about the BMRC is the collaboration that happens cross-institution, which is really exciting. Archives can be, it's very easy to kind of slip into that standalone institution. And so BMRC has just always kind of led the path of a collaborative environment. And that's what excited Oak Park quite a bit. So that's why we became a member.
Thank you, Lee.
So, just quite frankly, I believe in the mission of the BMRC. I believe in the mission of the consortium. And, I've been an ongoing supporter since 2011, especially, when we think about the impetus for why, and how the BMRC was even created, right? The importance of highlighting, preserving, documenting the Black experience. And so, as a representative of the previous institution that I was with, I was a member of the BMRC, and I wanted to, continue with that relationship because I definitely see it as important to be able to provide wider access to our holdings. And as a consortium, thinking in terms of the collaborations that can take place, between our respective institutions. And I'm probably getting into another one of the questions, but, I think a lot in terms of, the wider reach that we can have as a consortium. And especially in so connecting that to my current role here, you know, I have an even wider reach than I had, you know, previously. And, you know, with my, you know, past work experiences to connect to, you know, all of the municipalities within Cook County, which is well over 130. So, you know, I think about that, right? And how we can strengthen the historical record as it relates to the Black experience. So I just wanted to add that bit.
Thanks so much, Tally.
So Steve, I think that NIU is coming from a place where we really wanted to learn more about the collections of the Chicago area and how our students and faculty can use them, because certainly we have very close connections with Chicago. Lots of our students and faculty are from Chicago, live in Chicago, so and are studying topics related to Chicago and things that are held in great depth at the BMRC institutions. And so we wanted to be able to access those opportunities, also the training and other opportunities for our librarians and archivists and staff, and just basically giving us a place to learn more about those connections and things that are available for us.
Well, thanks, Gwen, and thanks all of you. We're certainly glad to have you and be in conversation with you, you know, through your formal membership. And yeah, I'll just jump into the next question. And this is sort of a two-parter, or maybe a four-parter, depending on how you read it. Do you have any specific needs or challenges at your institution which align with the mission of the BMRC? And also, what strengths and opportunities does your institution bring to the consortium? You can go in any order.
So this is Gwen. We are really interested in increasing representation of underrepresented groups in our regional history center collection specifically. And that's something that, you know, looking at what we have collected, it's not, I think we could be collecting things that are more representative of the diversity of the area at this point. And that's something that I think we can learn from other people in the BMRC about how to do that better.
Thank you, Gwen.
I will speak to, you know, the diversification of a collection, especially when you're in a public library, you have a finite amount of space, you focused on a few key figures in your community. I think we were kind of really looking for leadership on how to do that. Like I said, our collections are built on donations. There have been very few materials that we've actually gone out to acquire. But now we've reached a point where we need to do that if we want to diversify our collections. And so just kind of really looking for those, some leadership from the BMRC, institutions who have done that, who have those connections to the community, and to just get a little guidance on kind of how we can do that. I will say one of our strengths is we've always been really big on working with member institutions and the universities to provide an opportunity for students to come in and do internships and practicum and get some real practical experience with handling collections and being a part of large projects and initiatives. And so, yeah, looking forward, you know, we're definitely going in that direction. And so I hope we're able to kind of provide that to the BMRC, as well as, you know, a little help and guidance on kind of going forward with diversifying our collections.
Thanks, Lee. Yeah, I definitely see room for some exchange and some collaboration there. I can definitely move to the next question if there are no burning answers to the last one. All right. Can you share a bit more about your collection development scope and priorities related to Black historical collections, especially if your organization is making an intentional effort to diversify your collections?
Sure, this is Andy Meyer at North Park again. And like I said earlier, I think relative to other institutions and what I hear from even fellow panelists, our collecting scope is pretty narrow in that we don't collect Chicago things or regional things. It really is focused on North Park and the ECC. But within those worlds, there's lots of work to do with historically excluded groups and connections to build and best practices there. So my efforts at collection diversification are within the confines of our institutional homes in some ways, but still a lot of best things to learn from you all and best practices to apply. So that's kind of where we stand now.
Thanks, Andrew.
I'm still percolating over some things. Oh, sorry, Gwen, I didn't know.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. As I mentioned, this is a all new initiative. And so I think in terms of, well, I mean, there are a lot of things happening in my mind, right? Like I think in terms of, my background with cultural heritage institutions and, now with being with Cook County government, but at the base of it all, the focus is the human experience, right? And, us understanding what, our respective contributions are to the society, especially when we think in terms of, attempting to anyway, create this just an equitable place for us all to live in and be free and be happy, right? And so, I think a lot about in terms of like my priorities with collecting is to show how over time, Cook County's governmental structures has changed by way of contributions of African Americans within, our governmental structure. And as I mentioned before, just expanding upon our mission, which isn't only to, include the body of work as it relates to Cook County government, but to also create a body of work that relates to Cook County residents, so Cook County community as well. And, one particular collection that I think well, there are quite a few that I think of, but one that has definitely been on my mind for a long time is thinking in terms of, small businesses and, what small businesses have been able to achieve throughout COVID. And, collecting those materials that reflect, these achievements, that reflect these contributions from across the county and developing, again, like a collection that speaks very specifically to small businesses with, for me, thinking in terms of like highlighting Black women who own these businesses throughout the county. And, so a lot of it is driven by being able to recognize what isn't there, which is, a very keen talent that, some of us definitely have, especially those of us who are a part of groups that are not of the hegemony, as I like to say, and filling in those voids with these particular narratives to increase our overall historical narrative. And, there have been a couple of recent projects which I think have done exemplary in highlighting some of moving back, thinking about the governmental African Americans in government, which is the African Americans in the Vote, the first in Cook County leadership, highlighting those particular individuals, and women leading the way, highlighting them as well. And so being able to, collect the materials that speak to these particular experiences. And, so those just reading back over the question, making sure that I hit all the points, because in these spaces I think, you know, we kind of like pick up and drop off with our ideas, but you know, that's, yeah, so you know, that's a part of like, you know, my as I'm thinking through, you know, developing the collections and thinking through developing the collection development policy. So, you know, as I mentioned, there's so much here that's happening concurrently, you know,
Yeah.
have all the ideas, just, you know, working on the implementation process.
And Skylar, it must be so exciting to work there. When I think about, you know, the ways the Cook County Archives could, you know, just be a phenomenal resources for just people. If I think about graduate students, even graduate students at Northwestern who have topics, have one in mind who is a BMRC fellow. I could imagine her really finding some gems in that collection. And
Yeah, definitely. And it's, you know, like it is really an exciting position to be in. You know, I love to tell people that, you know, I have been trusted with President Preckwinkle's brain baby to nurture it into a full grown adult. And, you know, so thinking about, you know, like 3 years from now, like 5 years from now, you know, developing a strategic plan surrounding the development of the Archive Center. But then, of course, you know, as I mentioned before, you know, thinking about the knowledge development that will come out of this. So, yeah, Steve, I am definitely excited and I'm thrilled to be in this position. You know, there's just, yeah. I felt like, you know, for the last year or so, like the word that I continuously use, and it's just excitement, excited, exciting, you know, like I can't move away from it. You know, yeah, this is, it's very powerful too, you know, and I recognize that as well. So mhm. Looking forward to all of the collaborations, bringing on all of the students, you know, and well, I mean, okay, I do have to scale it down, but definitely
well,
excited
yeah,
about the position and being here and, you know, wanting to collaborate and to, you know, bring about these different projects and programs.
yes, it's sustainable growth, definitely. So if I know we're sort of running short on time here, but I'll jump to the last question if that's okay. You know, as you're joining the consortium, are you, you know, excited or curious about collaborating with, working with, or learning from experts at any specific BMRC institutions? And if not experts, are there any projects or initiatives at BMRC institutions that spark your curiosity? What are you excited about as you hear, especially as we think about and reflect on Marsha's presentation and other things you might have heard about that are happening in the consortium? Just jump on in.
I'm excited about everything. The amazing initiatives and programs that the BMRC has done, especially, you know, during a pandemic, has been amazing. And I've been really excited to see that. I am excited, you know, we're going to have brand new staff who have new ideas, and I kind of want to, you know, give them the space to kind of dive in and decide, you know, where they want to take this. Our existing staff is very excited. I'm really excited about whoever we hire for the new archivist. You know, we're just gonna kind of let them go and do what they feel they need to do and they're excited about. You know, in terms of any kind of projects and initiatives, like a lot of institutions here, the pandemic just put a hold on a lot of things. And so there was a lot of brainstorming, there was a lot of thinking during that time, but I feel like our public library has just opened up to the public full hours. Like there's been a lot going on. And so I'm hoping that in the next couple of months, we can kind of settle down and really start thinking about moving forward in terms of like programs or initiatives and partnerships.
I'll be very brief about it. I'm really looking forward to collaborating with everyone, of course, but just thinking more specifically about programs, public programs in particular, and also thinking about ways in which we can activate our archival holdings as institutional partners is, connecting to other BMRC members who have Cook County government holdings. Because just recognizing that those materials are out there, wanting to be able to draw the connection for our researchers to those particular spaces, lead them to those spaces, as well as back to, of course, engaging with us here in the Carroll office, and just building upon like a more expansive story as it relates to like these collections that are not centralized, but that are local.
Thank you, Skylar.
Sure, I'll jump in and say some of the professional development opportunities you all have offered earlier this year, the cultural diversity competency webinar, collection diversification, the 2-day thing were really wonderful. I'm looking forward to kind of eavesdropping on the community archiving presentations later this month to kind of get best practices there and learn from you all. So those are some of the things I'm excited about.
Well, so this is Gwen. I'm really excited to tell all my colleagues at the library here and then, faculty and students on campus about the BMRC and all the great resources that are available to them through it, as well as taking advantage of the learning opportunities that will be great for us as we work toward improving our collections and taking care of the collections we already have and making them more accessible.
Well, thanks to all of you for your presentations, but also welcome as new members. We want to extend a warm welcome to all of you, and I'll pass the mic to Marcia now as she closes things out.
Thank you all. This was really wonderful to learn more about your institutions, your priorities, and the work that you're doing. And I forgot to make one really, really important announcement regarding our staff at the BMRC. So we have 2 grant-funded staff who have been with us for the past year, and technically their appointments were supposed to end in December 2021, but the BMRC board decided to extend their appointments for at least an additional year so that they can continue to do work on grant-funded projects, continue to do work for the consortium. So we're really excited to be able to continue having Lori and Tanya work with us. And we know that that investment in beefing up our staff and our capacity will really help the consortium, and certainly to address some of the issues, the concerns, and the needs that you all have raised. So we're really, really excited about that. There were a couple of questions that I think are being answered from the Q&A. We want to thank everyone who has signed on to our annual meeting this year. Thank you all for joining us. Again, we hope to see you all in person when it's safe for us to do so. And if you would like to view this recording, we are looking to have it available within the next week or so on our YouTube channel, and we'll send out an email. Thank you all again. Stay well, stay safe, and stay engaged.